Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to review the 2018 action science fiction film Escape Plan 2, Hades, that stars Sylvester Stallone, Dave Bautista, Jesse Metcalfe, 50 Cent, and I'm going to pronounce this terrible, I know I am, Xiaoming Huang. And this is the sequel to the original film Escape Plan that starred Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And let's be honest, that was no masterpiece. The main attraction to that was the fact that we were going to see Stallone and Schwarzenegger acting together for the first time, apart from the Expendables. And that was a pretty dispensable, fun action movie. Nothing really wrong with that Escape Plan, but like I say, not exactly a classic. So straight off the bat, that's a film that I don't think ever needed a sequel, but we've got it. And unfortunately, guys, I've got to say I really disliked this film in a big way. Not fun at all, this movie, and I described it on Twitter as boring, generic, and it belongs back in the 90s. And I think that perfectly describes this movie. Not fun at all. And if you're going to make an action film, you've got to make it fun, and there was nothing fun about this movie, I don't think. And what this film focuses on this time is, again, there is an inescapable prison called Hades, and it is built by the same people that created the prison in the first one, the Tomb. However, the twist this time is it's not Stallone that is kidnapped, certainly initially, to be put in this prison. It's members of his team, in particular Shu. And they get captured and thrown in this prison, and it's like a puzzle, this prison. It shifts all the time. It's run by this AI system. And eventually, Stallone, when he realises what's happening to his team, teams up with Dave Bautista, and they go on the hunt to try and find them. And eventually, to cut a long story short, Stallone ends up in this prison, and of course, it's not called Escape Plan, for no reason. So you can figure out what happens. It's basically the first film again, but without that chemistry of Stallone and Schwarzenegger. Yeah, it's not a good film, this, guys. It really isn't a good film. I saw the rating for this on IMDb. It's rated at something like 3.8 out of 10. And I thought, that seems a bit low. And unbelievably, this is actually in the cinemas in the UK, believe it or not, guys. I do not know how this has been given a cinema release. I'm not sure if it was the same in the US. I know we've had to wait a while in the UK for this. I could have done with waiting a bit longer, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's in the cinemas, unbelievably. I can't imagine it's going to be in the cinemas for long. And this is the first time in a long time I've seen a Stallone film, because I think he's been doing pretty well over the last decade or so. And I thought, this isn't working for you, Sly. He looked old. He looked bored. The fight scenes that he's involved in, it's clearly not him. It's a stunt double. For the majority of the cuts that you could see, it was like watching one of those TV shows from the 90s, where the actor is constantly replaced by a stunt double. The action scenes were sloppy, certainly the ones that Stallone were in. The ones that involved Shu, they were like martial arts themed, and I thought they were okay. They were decent, those martial arts fight scenes. The plot is nonsensical. Doesn't make any sense, and the film is so bad you don't focus on the detail. It might make sense, I don't think it does, but you're so bored watching the film, you don't want to focus on the details to try and understand the plan they're putting together. Does it make sense? I'm sure it doesn't. It didn't seem to. It was moronic. The storytelling here was shocking. The dialogue was just awful and old-fashioned. Some of the acting on display was terrible, and you could barely describe Stallone's performance and Dave Bautista's performance as anything other than extended cameos, really. Stallone's barely in it for the first hour or so, a couple of scenes here and there, and then he turns up in the prison for the last 20 minutes of the film. Dave Bautista didn't need to be in this film. As much as I like Dave Bautista, and I do think he has a role in Hollywood, he needs to stop doing movies like this just to work with people like Stallone. It's not doing his CV any good, it's just not. He's done this a few times. If you look at his back catalogue, he did the Kickboxer film, he's done this, and there's another 2, 3 or 4 films that he's done that he doesn't need to do. He's going to get work, relevant work, and this does not help his CV. I don't care. I'm sure he wanted to work with Stallone. I'm sure he was a big influence on him. But keep away from these films, Dave Bautista. He did not need to be in this film. There was no need for his character in any way, shape or form. And it didn't work. And how they introduced him to the film was utter nonsense. Didn't make any sense at all. So guys, I've got to say, you've got to avoid this one like the plague. It's utter nonsense, not fun, boring, and very old-fashioned. So for me, it's a 4.5 out of 10, and I'm probably being a little bit generous with that score, if I'm honest. So yeah, Escape Plan 2. Avoid this one, guys, because it is not a lot of fun, unfortunately. So thanks for watching.